This is Louise Bourgeois. A little bit about her life. Um, Her parents ran a tapestry business where she was able to help restore tapestries because of her artistic talents. Her upbringing, unfortunately, otherwise was extremely harsh. When she was born, her father was hoping for a boy, and instead, she was born and she was treated very poorly because she was a girl instead of a boy by her father. Later in life, her father went on to have an affair with her English tutor, and that caused a lot of issues in her home. And her mother was not very loving or kind towards her either. A lot of the works, like this spider one, were created in inspiration from her mother. She later went on to marry Robert Goldwater and moved to the United States. She had 3 sons and raised them well. Then she became famous for her artwork and went on to create many sculptures and prints before she passed in 2010, and she worked right up until the end of her life. She had a traumatic childhood that fueled a lot of her artwork. She creates works that express domesticality, family, sexuality, and motherhood, as shown by these ones down here. The Harmless Woman shows a lot about femininity and how women are seen as, or have been seen as, more useless and nothing but boobs and a butt. Then there's the Woman House that is focused on domesticality and how in like a nuclear family, the woman is usually tied to the house, unable to leave, and it becomes everything that she is. And then the Pink and Blue Days seems to symbolize the fact that she's a girl, but her father wanted a boy, and how she was treated poorly because of her sexuality. She used her art as a therapeutic way to work through her trauma. She would create art to bring light to how awful her upbringing was, and also to face and heal a bit of the trauma that she suffered. As I've said before, she went through a lot of hardships. She suffered heavily from mental illness, especially depression. She went through childhood trauma and that never really healed. Her father and mother were both adding to the trauma, never supporting her in the way a child would need. She was inspired by studies of hysteria in mental hospitals and its effect on the body, which is what inspired this piece, The Arch of Hysteria. It's a form that hysteria patients will make when having an episode, and it was typically focused on women and how they would make this pose, but she noticed that men would also make the same pose, and there was much less information and much less studies done on that because of the male doctor's sexual interest in the patients, which she found to be disgusting, which I do too. And so she wanted to kind of bring to light that the male gaze doesn't define what should be done to women. And she became a big feminist artist. Her work goes on to inspire those in similar circumstances to herself, those who went through trauma, those who are fighting for equality between sexes, and those who suffer from mental illnesses. And she expresses a lot of that through her artwork. These are a couple more of her artworks. She made a lot of pieces that had to do with spiders, and those would always represent her mom and how she could be terrifying and looming over and overprotective, but also kind of dangerous and scary. She made a lot of pieces on the body, as shown in the structures of existence, the cells. They're usually linked to sexuality and the abuse of it, like the affair that her father had when she was a child. She also worked in made structures of homes to really nail down the domesticality and the issues within normal nuclear families. She worked in a wide range of materials. She would sculpt, she painted, and she would print a lot of items, but a lot of her sculptures were made with any sort of materials that she was able to get her hands on. She would use metals and plasters and really anything that she could. Her works eventually became desired by people from all around the world. She now has a lot of her works in museums and anywhere that someone had commissioned her to work. This is a piece called Identity that she made. Her process, especially for this one, used multiple people to be able to create this piece. She'll use people either as models or will use their literal body to help create molds, like this piece was done out of plaster. And then she'll be able to carve from the mold. Her parents never approved of her work. Her father thought that she should just get married and get out of his house, and her mother thought her art was a waste of time and encouraged against it. Luckily, she did not listen to them, and instead listened to an art teacher who saw her potential and encouraged her to pursue art. That was later in life, after she went into other fields like mathematics that her parents were more pushing her towards, and she later went back into art. She really wants people to be able to feel something from her art. She thinks that if people feel any sort of emotion from her artwork, that she was successful and created a piece of art. If they are unaffected by the pieces that she makes, then she thinks that she has failed as an artist. And this is a quote I really love that she said. She says, "I turn hate into love." I think this quote really shows how she can turn horrible experiences and horrible situations into something that people can enjoy and love and be happy about. Like a lot of her spider sculptures, as I've said before, were based on her mom and how she was raised really poorly by her parents. But these pieces, she's made so many of them, and they're everywhere, and they just create such beautiful masterpieces that people from all around the world get to enjoy. I think she inspires a lot of people, since her feminist stance against sexism and domestic issues really help bring light and hope to those suffering from these modern issues. She inspires me in particular, and since we all go through hardships, she really shows a way that we can use that to create something incredible. And she inspires me to keep pushing past all the negativity in my life, either coming from my own self and how I view my art, or others and how they might view my art, and be able to keep creating despite the odds. Thank you.